Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So before we get into the actual drawing session today, the lovely people at Pentips actually sent me a few things for me to try out and to show you guys. So let's hop into that first before we get on to sketching today. So they sent me 3 different things for me to try out, and one of the things I've actually been testing out in a few different videos. So the last probably a few iPad videos that I've done for some of the uploads recently, I've been using one of their pen tips to just kind of test out. If you guys are not familiar, I've only changed my Apple Pencil tip actually only once, and I've changed it to the replacement that comes in the package whenever you buy an Apple Pencil. It usually just has like one extra nib, so I have changed it from that. And the reason being is that once I've kind of like whittled my way to the metal portion of the Apple Pencil tip, I decided to switch it out. I just thought it created too much of a scratchy noise. The drawing experience just felt a little bit different. Yeah, it's just more of like kind of like a personal preference at that point. But the last few videos, I did switch out that replacement nib and switched over to their Pentips 2 Plus, which comes in a little box like this. So it says Pentips, and it comes with 3 little nibs in here. So this one that's like kind of rolling around is actually my old one. It almost has like a weird point coming to like a cone shape because I've been whittling it down due to my matte screen protectors. But this one definitely got more wear a lot quicker than my previous one. But you can see the difference between their Pentip 2 and this one. So it's a slight off-white color, this one is, and this is the Pentip 2 Plus from Pentips, and it actually feels a little bit softer compared to this one. So if you kind of like a little bit more of texture, a little bit of grip whenever you're writing or drawing, I kind of recommend this one. It's actually really nice. It feels really smooth and nice to draw with. It's also just because it feels a little bit softer, it just feels a little bit less abrasive on my screen protector, which is kind of nice. But like I said, it might be due to the reason that this one's becoming like a weird conical shape at this point. But I do think when using it on the matte screen protector that I currently have, there is a sound and texture difference for sure. But in terms of like sound and texture, let's talk about the other one that they have sent me. So these are their Pentip fibers, and they're kind of like a sleeve for your Apple Pencil tip. So even if you don't like want to replace your nib maybe fully, you can just get these kind of like soft little sleeves for your pen nibs. So you can just slip this right on, and it gives you a different kind of like writing experience, drawing experience. It does give you a lot more texture for sure, and kind of gives it a little bit of that softness as well. But because I have a matte screen protector, it doesn't work the best, at least I find, on the matte screen protector. And I'm gonna turn up my gain on my mic so you can hopefully hear it. Apologies if you can hear the humming of my laptop. So now that I did like this little mini demonstration here, hopefully you could hear a little bit of the sound difference. I definitely think like if I'm doing ASMR, I am going to probably stick with the Apple Pencil that I currently have with the nib, just because it does produce and still kind of sounds the best when used with this matte screen protector. But if you're someone who maybe dislikes that hollow noise, or if you don't like that scratchy noise but you like the feel of the matte screen protector, maybe the Pentip 2 might be the best if you prefer the texture but want a little bit less of that grittiness of that sound. But if you want to eliminate more of the sound, I would highly recommend using the fiber if you would like. I don't think I did the fiber too much justice. So I do have a matte screen protector, and I believe the fibers work best on like some kind of glass surface. There's virtually no sound, but you also get a nice kind of like grip. So I feel like for writing or drawing, it might actually work quite well. So I can't really demonstrate it 100% just because obviously my phone's not compatible with the Apple Pencil. The squeaky little surface of matte to matte versus matte on glossy, which works a lot better. So the last thing that they actually sent me is an accessory for the Apple Pencil still. So it comes in this little burlap sack, and I'm gonna take it out, or this canvas sack, I guess. And it's actually a pen grip. So this is great for the Apple Pencil, especially if you're a person who maybe is trying to avoid hand injury a little bit by making sure that your pencil is a appropriate width so you're not like death gripping. It's also great because it provides a little bit of texture. I know some people find the Apple Pencil to be oddly smooth and it feels a little bit hard to grip on. So having a pen grip actually helps quite a bit. It also helps a little bit to give it a little bit of weight towards the front, but for the most part I think it provides enough of a width due to the silicone material. Definitely use this for like daily use. I think it will help alleviate a lot of like stress and fatigue on your hand. The case that I like to use, obviously I cannot store my Apple Pencil like this, so I'm just gonna stick this into my pencil case most likely. So let's go ahead and do a bit of a sketching, kind of like a demo with the Pentip 2 Plus so that you guys can get a better feel of it. And for the boat, I think I've only been using it for maybe 2 weeks at this point, and there is no sign of wear or tear on it. But obviously my screen protector is also not new, so some of the texture has been worn down. So for the drawing session, like I mentioned, I am going to be using the 6B pencil today, and I'm going to be drawing Sunday from Honkai Star Rail so that I can do as much like hatching and texture and stuff, and you guys can get a better feeling maybe of the pen a little bit. I think I talked about this a little bit, is that my computer has been in repairs for the last 3 weeks. Well, at this point I think it's gonna come next week. So I haven't been doing ASMR videos, so I don't think I can do like a full comparison about with the sounds like super clearly, but that's kind of the reason why I haven't been doing ASMR recently, and that's why I was kind of using this pencil for the most part. So you probably virtually hear no sounds while I'm working. It also helps that I'm working quite lightly right now. I always feel like I never use these grips correctly. I've always held my grips like super close to the nib, and I don't know if I'm supposed to use it for my fingers or is it supposed to be for like where it rests. We'll add a little bit of a wash over it maybe, depending on how much I end up like shading and rendering with just the 6B pencil itself. If I do get my computer next week, I want to do 2 weeks of just pure ASMR videos to make up a little bit for the lack of ASMR videos for the last few weeks. It's almost been a month, I'm assuming. I don't know, I just like how this pen tip feels. It just feels very soft and like buttery almost in a sense. Because the conical one definitely has a little bit more resistance. So, you know, you might have a preference between like if you want something with more texture, or maybe you want something that's a little bit more like buttery feeling. I feel like this would work the best probably for writing even. So at least planning wise, I do have some ASMRs planned, so I'm gonna try my best to do a whole variety once my computer is back in here. Kinda want it behind his back. I don't know, I think like Sunday and Robin's designs, I just really like them. But I think the more I see Robin, I'm getting more and more attached to her, and I kind of regret not trying to save for her earlier. Too large of a hand, that's okay. We're just doing some sketching. Definitely drew his head too big, so let's try to liquefy his body. So for his clothing, like I mentioned, I haven't really drawn him, so I'm a little lost. If I've drawn like one character for the most part, like while looking at their outfit and stuff quite in depth, for the most part, I usually don't have too much problem trying to divvy up like their clothing. But I will make it up to you guys once I'm able to film the ASMRs a little bit more easily. For some reason, the humming noise coming from either my laptop or my laptop going to my mic, no matter what settings I change, it's very intense, like even more so than what it was before. I thought it would be no problem because like I said, my laptop used to be able to do it no problem at all, but I guess not anymore. But hopefully when I get my computer back, I will be drawing Misha, like almost right away. I'm gonna do a little bit of planning. So I'll definitely draw him, and I'm planning him either to be the ASMR session, or like one of them, or like a start to finish, probably. Okay, so now that we kind of have a very basic sketch of him. Not a basic sketch, this looks like chicken scratch. But let's go ahead and start to darken some stuff and shade a little bit, and maybe we'll add a little bit of washes to it. And I think that'll be this session because I don't want this one to be too long. So let's see if we need to clean up anything afterwards. So what I like to usually do for these 6P pencil kind of like doodles is just to really darken up these lines, and I tend to actually sketch with more of like a black or a dark gray. I guess today it was just set to black just because I probably dragged it into the right hand corner or the left hand corner. Also, song recommendations. So I've mentioned in the past that I like listening to Peter Elias in the past, but there is a song from Dio from EXO. He has like a solo album right now. I think it's called Mars. I love that song so much, but it kind of gives me the same vibes of one of Peter Elias's songs. So what I've been listening to is either Dio, obviously 17's new album. I listened to Cheers to You way too much. And then after that, I would be listening to Robin, so like Honkai Star Rail or like Chevy. That album too is so good. For some reason, I don't know if I'm okay, because I don't think most songs do this to me. I was listening to that one song that plays, is that a spoiler? It's basically, I think it's the third track. I forget what the song's called, because their titles are way too long. But for some reason, listening to that song makes me cry, even though it's like so upbeat. And once that song came on, when I was folding clothes, I just started like weeping. I don't know if it's like the context of the song. So you can see darkening up some of the lines right here already makes this portion stand out. So I'm just gonna continue. So for his eyes, I could just darken it how I usually do it. So I feel like I always draw eyes differently depending on who I'm drawing. But one thing I will always do is I will always leave a band of color at the very top if I can. It just makes the eyes look a little bit less dead. So for his earring, there's definitely plenty of like areas where I didn't add enough details, so they might not stand out enough. And like some stuff like this, I feel like erasing would do it better rather than just cleaning it up, or rather than darkening the surrounding areas. I just love the 6B pencil so much. It's just fun to sketch and draw, which makes me have the urge to do more traditional art just with normal graphite. Maybe I'll do that for the next like sketchbook session. So a good thing about using this pencil as well, like the 6B pencil, is that if you change your pressure sensitivity, I feel like it's just super easy to sketch with. Like it's quite easy to get like your dark and your light lines. So even though I'm sketching with just pure black right now, when I start to add a little bit of color, probably I will change the line art to be a little bit warmer and softer depending on the color scheme I'll go with. A little bit of hatching here. I don't do as much hatching as I usually do like whenever I do these graphite ones, because I've been using a lot more of the old beach brush to do a lot more of the values. Oh, for some reason it sounds like a Luna Fly song. I feel like there's like a bunch of songs I haven't listened to in forever. One of Dio's other songs, I think it's called I'm Fine. That was a song that I feel like it sounded a little bit like a Luna Fly song. But yeah, because I know I'm going to add some washes, I'm not going to shade some of these darker areas in. I'm going to let some of the color do that for me. So I did wish I kept this a little bit cleaner, but I actually like the sketchier lines usually for something like this, especially for like traditional artwork. I love seeing people's like pencil lines. Some of these darker areas I actually don't mind adding a little bit just because they are black. These are dark blue, so I don't really need to add so much value into it if I don't need to. His hair kind of splay out a little bit. I would love to do a painting of him actually. Like a watercolor painting. I think it'd be kind of fun to do like a print like this because he has actually quite a few gold detailing, and then his halo actually would be fun to do as well. This reminds me of like art history when people have these kinds of halos that are like, what is it? Is it Blue Archive? They'll have like different little halos behind their heads or whatever. Get this to have like a little bit of thickness. Or even 17. There is like an illustration I really want to make, and there might be a K-pop market. Depends if I can get into it, because I've applied for it. It'd be nice if I got into it, then I could table there, because it'd be kind of fun. Because it's been a while since I've made any like K-pop merch. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of texture to his hair, Just a smidge. I'm also gonna lighten these up a little bit, not fully get rid of them. But there are some of these lines that are a little too dark. For indication of like where the hair direction's going. And then that way when I add in some of my watercolor washes, I can just be a little bit conscious about where I'm placing highlights and stuff. I think it just looks a little prettier. Then we'll do a little bit of shading for his sclera. I do miss doing these kind of real-time sessions like this. I think I'm just like a little bit embarrassed. Maybe it's like because of my computer situation, I've moved to more of like a general area in my parents' house. And because of it, everyone can walk by, and I know for a fact, even though they keep telling me, no, I can't hear you. Oh, I don't mind. I mind. Also, my friend was telling me, I actually didn't know this because I feel like my friend was never like the type to play any, I don't even know if it's like cozy games. She's usually into like JRPGs, combat games, that type. But I didn't know she had like a Stardew Valley phase during the pandemic. So she's like, we should do multiplayer. And we'll get our other friend to join. So I'm super excited if that actually comes to fruition because that'll be very fun to do. Especially because I call with them every week. It would be just nice to have something in the background. So I have a chat tonight, so I might bring it up again because I would love to play with them. Oh, he has rings on this side. Or it kind of looks like rings. I'm not sure if there are rings. Okay, so here is our sketch of Sunday, I think. I don't think I missed anything too crucial. It's kind of what the sketch looks like at this point. There's still some straight lines, and hopefully they're not too disruptive for the entire piece. I do think I could make this stand out a little bit more easily. Okay, so let's add a little bit of color. I'm gonna duplicate this, even though I'm not gonna like actually mess around with the sketch too much. I think we can leave it actually. Actually, maybe I'll change the multiply. We'll see how this looks actually. So I'm going to alpha lock it. I'm gonna choose maybe stick with our dark kind of duller purple. Then we can fill the layer in. So this is what our sketch looks like now. I might even go darker. That. And then with a new layer, I am going to switch over to the old beach brush and we are going to add, oh, let me change our background color first actually. So for Sunday, I still like adding some kind of like manila color. And then we can choose kind of like a warmer color. I'm going to choose like an orange so that it fully shows up. Actually, I might even go yellow or in between, kind of like this color. And we can actually start to shade. So I'm going to shade this as if it's monochromatic and try to pay at least a little bit of attention to potentially a light source, which I'm going to make it the top left, I think. So the old beach brush is great to add some kind of like a watercolor wash. So I'm gonna do his halo first. I want to see if there's a brush that I can find or make that kind of gives it more of like a marker texture. So I'm sticking with a kind of a smaller brush because I want my washes to be a little bit on the cleaner side. So I'm trying my best to do it in one pass if I can. Or if I need to lift up, I will try to place the new color in an appropriate spot so that it doesn't become too obvious. I probably could have left more light, but maybe we have some more subtle lighting. was gonna leave this as a highlight, but if we're going to make this side kind of more in shadow, I'm just gonna color all this in. I'm gonna color the entire thing. I'm gonna leave like a little highlight in the very center of his eyes just to remain some extra color. So we could technically leave all of this monochromatic like this if you really wanted to, but for me, I do like either picking a color comp of like a warm and cool and doing a little bit of different shadows, or if you actually want to add their real colors, then that could also work. But I'm going to do it in a more subtle way because it kind of keeps the warmth of everything. I did forget a little bit of detailing on his clothing, so it's gonna look a little bit plain. So we have white gloves. So I changed to a larger brush. So sometimes I don't add this much of a wash to something, but I guess because I'm going to be adding more of his actual colors, I do want more of this to be filled in so that we have more room to play with in terms of adding colors. So now that we kind of have our wash done like this, let's go ahead and alpha lock it. So that even if I change brushes, let's say we go back to my paintbrush, if I color over it, it kind of maintains that watercolor texture, which is kind of what I want. So for me, let's go ahead and change the colors to be a little bit closer to matching, but not entirely. I'm gonna keep it very light, kind of like a watercolor wash would be. So let's start off with Sunday's hair, and it's kind of more on like the grayish blue side. I'm actually gonna take the filter off of my, or not filter, the eye shield comfort off my phone. And he kind of has like a grayish blue hair. So let's pick something like that. I might even lean a little warmer, just because I feel like it'll match nicely with the color of yellowish, the warm yellow that we have currently on the canvas. I'm gonna lightly go over. So as we go closer to the edges, I'm gonna leave these yellow, but I'm gonna leave the rest of this area kind of on the lighter side. I'm gonna use this for the wings as well. It kind of almost makes it look a little greenish because of how the yellow and the blue are interacting. So his eyes are kind of like, I think they're supposed to be, are they sunset colored-ish? Okay, they're just yellow, but they're purple in the center. So I'm gonna deepen his eyes a little bit more. Just compared to the yellow that we originally had, I'll make it a lot lighter on the bottom. His outfit's pretty much on like a purple gray side. So I am losing a little bit of that yellow, but it's okay because the yellow, I like to add it for like more getting hit by the sun or like our light source. So because this will be darker, I don't mind making it a little bit less yellow and a little bit more accurate to his actual color. So oftentimes when I'm doing these watercolor washes, I almost never go super, super dark, just to keep the lighter feeling. But also the watercolor or the old beach brush doesn't make super dark colors stand out anyways, because if I go to black, it's still like some sort of gray color, almost like ink washish. Then we'll add our blue here. This way we can kind of keep our light aesthetic intact. His skin, I'm gonna leave the yellow color because I actually think it looks kind of cute. I might even make his hair a little bit darker as we move away from the face. Or not the face, the light source. think it looks super pretty. So for the halo, I am gonna darken a little bit and make it a little bit more gold. Those are a little bit farther away from the light source. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep everything more or less on the light side. It just adds a little bit of a difference to the entire piece a little bit. I also forgot to add a wash into the center, so I'm gonna unlock it, use the old beach brush, and kind of just fix it. Then we can alpha lock it again. I'm gonna bring back some of that yellow color that we had earlier. I want to see what this looks like if I change the color of the line art to be... Ooh, I kind of like that actually. Raising the... kind of the saturation of it. Kind of gives it more of a pen look, if anything. You can't really see it, but for the most part I actually really like what this looks like. We could change the colors to be a little bit more on the softer side here so we get lighter. So that's kind of what we have for our watercolor wash alongside with the little lines. Now if you really wanted to, you could probably go back and add some highlights, make a new layer, grab the background color, and maybe I'll take my sketching brush. And if you really wanted to, you could like pull out some highlights and stuff. I think I did an okay job with like adding the highlights and shadows to where I initially wanted it to be anyways. But like I said, you could definitely add it to spruce up the sketch even more. Yeah, if you wanted to add more texture, you could add like extra lines here and there. I know like some people have that brush from like Clip Studio Paint that does like these little hatchy kind of marks. Always looks super pretty. But yeah, I think that's it for today's little sketching session. We'll do a quick run through of the time lapse. I always click like every wrong tab, virtually possible. So here's our swatches, but if you guys are interested in testing out any of the pen tips or the accessories that I've received today, please check out the link in the description if you're interested. Yeah, and thank you again to Pentips for sending me some of their pen tips to try alongside with the pencil grip as well. I'd be definitely using it, especially if I feel like I'm gonna get some kind of hand cramp or anything like that. So this is kind of our little sketch. I'll probably post this one right away. I actually really like this one. Yeah, I think it turned out super cute. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's drawing session, and I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!